Welcome to MINDSHOCK True Crime. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and you are listening to the Jennifer Kesse series. This is episode 4, Revelations. We will be going over some shocking revelations and some theories that we have not yet gone over in this series. Hopefully you've listened to the previous episode so you're all caught up in available information in this very, very compelling case, a case where there is seemingly enough information to solve this thing, a case where there is seemingly quite a bit of tips, a case where there have been seemingly enough searches to verify or at least rule out certain tips, but as of yet it remains unsolved. I've said this with this case and many other cases. I think there's enough to solve this one. Obviously, it's a matter of people competent enough to go over the information that there is in order to solve it. As always, if you want to help support the MINDSHOCK podcast, keep up awareness in various true crime cases, missing persons cases, cold cases, wrongful convictions, and more, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, like and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patrons do get priority for case topic, logical analysis, co-podcaster requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comments section. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Okay. So, the first thing I'm going to go over is the possible break in the case reported 5 years ago. Now, this was so several bodies have been found in the area. I don't know if most of them have been identified yet. So just quick recap. Again, hopefully everyone has listen to the previous episode, so they'll be all caught up in everything we went over so far. The Millennia is obviously where Kesse's condo was. Now, there was a sighting at Northbridge and Oak Ridge Church, as well as Fisher Lake. A little over a mile away to the northwest is where there was the sighting of somebody with a white pickup dumping something wrapped in a carpet into Fisher Lake. There's also Curry Ford Road to the northwest, where a composite sketch of a criminal assaulting women and girls who happens to look very similar to Chino, one of the construction workers working at the Millennia, and was apparently also inside Kesse's condo for work. We went over him extensively in the previous episode, so check that out if you haven't already. So, quite a few sightings here. Now, Orange Blossom is where yet another body was found. So, in this area, one super sleuth posted this on the Jennifer Kesse subreddit. Possible break in the Kesse case, body found. This was 5 years ago now. Skeletonized human remains were discovered near Orange Blossom Trail and Americana Boulevard. This location is just 4 blocks from where a search was done in an empty field in 2010, currently a Walmart and within a half a mile of Jens co-worker's residence. A cadaver dog hit on a scent, but nobody was found in the 2010 search, which occurred exactly 1 month after Jen's co-worker was terminated. Okay, so let me bring up another image here. So we can see where more of these searches occurred. And we will be examining why these searches occurred and why nothing was found. So this is Orange Blossom. And as you can see, this is also next to Lake Jessamine. Now, before the Walmart was there, apparently this is a random field, and for whatever reason, there was some kind of a tip to search here as well. So this is all not that many blocks from Kesse's condo. This is all not that many blocks from Jen's co-worker's residence who was terminated. Okay, so back in 2010, apparently there was a tip I'll actually play the news clip here from 2010.
Missing. The past 4 years, the search for a missing Orlando woman intensified this morning. Jennifer Kesse vanished from her condo near the mall at Millennia in January of 2006. Every other search for the 24-year-old to this point has failed to find her. But West 2's Dave McDaniel live now where this new search is happening. It's near the intersection of OBT and Oak Ridge. So, Dave, what led police search teams to that area?
Well, they're really only saying that they've had a tip that takes them to this area. Now, they point out that they've had 1,000 leads since her disappearance, but obviously this is a tip that they...
1,000. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
They believe is very credible. We want to zoom in and we want to show you...
And they believe this particular one is very credible.
The area that is central to the search. We can tell you after talking more extensively with police and actually talking with Jennifer's father that cadaver dogs came in here, dogs with a good track record, and they have hit on this area. And that's exactly why the search has intensified. Dozens of searchers combing the area, digging with a backhoe, using ground-penetrating radar, all hoping to find the answer. What happened to Jennifer Kesse back in January 2006?
They are doing what we've done before based on information that we believe to have been credible, what you call a dig. They're using some ground radar units, and we've got several agencies out here, and we have taken in over 1,000 leads. I can't say any, I do not have any specific information about what it is that led the investigators to this area. I mean, the Kesses want to know what happened to their daughter, and so does the Orlando Police Department, and so does everybody in the whole country.
I remember when she went missing, and I would see her mom every day at the corner of John Young, trying to find tips and trying to find her. I hope this gives their family relief if that's her.
You can hear the emotion in her voice, and obviously that emotion is very understandable. You're continuing to look live as they search for any and all clues that might lead to an answer in this case. I do have to tell you, I did speak with Drew Kesse on the telephone. He basically told me that right now, with all of this that's going on, he is simply numb. But he also repeated a message to me that really he's been telling me for the past couple of years. They want Jennifer found. And if finding her means being exposed to horrible news, the news possibly of her death, they'd rather know something than to be wondering what happened to their daughter. Reporting live in Orange County, Dave McDaniel, West 2 News.
So what's curious is this, I mean, couple things here. So, field in 2010. So, for whatever reason, they had a tip here that was supposedly the field area, which is now a Walmart. That's the green circle on the screen. Now, the red circle is where they ended up finding a body. I mean, this is curious. So there were cadavers. So again, this could be other people as well. So this was apparently found by accident. Let me bring up this news clip. And we'll go over this one.
Orange County deputies spent hours searching for clues after human remains were found in a vacant lot.
So this is the red circle.
Orange County deputies spent hours searching for clues after human remains were found in a vacant lot. This is where the discovery was made along South Orange Blossom Trail. News 6's Clay Lepard joins us live where the investigation continues. And Clay, deputies say this body appears to have been there a while.
So this is November. The news article was published November 28th, 2018 regarding the body found here. So initially, if this is Jennifer Kesse, I don't think they ever reported the identity if it was even found out. And so this is roughly 8 years after the green circle search in the field that is now a Walmart, where a cadaver dog apparently did hit, and apparently it was a highly credible tip. So if this was her, was the body moved? Or are these both just different people?
Lisa, that's the word from deputies so far. The medical examiner's office and the sheriff's office just wrapped up their investigation here just a few minutes ago. What we know so far about this body that was found here is that it was skeletonized, meaning it had decomposed quite a bit. Just off this busy stretch of South Orange Blossom Trail near Americana Boulevard, you can see as deputies comb this vacant lot, looking for clues as to why a body ended up here. We spoke with the property manager for this lot based out of Jacksonville. She tells News 6 they had sent a routine cleaning crew out here and they found the body in the grass this morning. The property manager sends crews out to clean every few months, but hadn't sent a cleaning crew out here to mow since August. Deputies spent the day collecting evidence as they try to sort out who this person was.
So this is kind of curious. So they're saying every few months there's a cleaning crew, but they've never found this body that was supposedly there for a long time. So it's kind of unclear here because they say the remains themselves are old. So were they placed there? So were they not there before August 2018? Or were they there all along and somehow missed by all these cleaning crews that come out every few months?
How did they die, and why did their body end up in this vacant lot? People who live nearby tell News 6 there are several homeless camps in the area, and Sky 6 could clearly see the remains of one of those on the property. At this point, it's not clear if this person's death is suspicious or not. Deputies say they've begun the long process of trying to figure out who this person was as their investigation continues. In Orange County, Clay Lepard, News 6.
Clay, thank you.
You know what's crazy? In a lot of these cases, so if you see here on the screen here, the 3 red circles on the top, so not the Oak Ridge Church, the 4th red circle is the Walmart. So if you look at the top 3 circles on the map in the middle of the screen, the first, or squares, rectangles, circles, whatever, the red outlines, the top 3 red outlines are almost in a direct line from Kesse's apartment at the Mosaic at Millennia to Huntington on the Green, which was where the car was found, and then Orange Blossom, where this body was found in 2018, is almost a straight line, and then the Walmart, formerly a field, where there was a 2010 search according to a highly credible tip. So they're all in the same general area, but it's almost a straight line for the top 3. So that's curious. That's a curiosity. Yeah, that's tough. Because a lot of these bodies that are found, there's just never a follow-up report. So either they can't determine, or they did determine, but they didn't release the information for whatever reason. So this 2010 search apparently was exactly 1 month after her coworker was terminated. Now, who's ready for another mind shock? Apparently there were also another set of remains found nearby 2 months prior. Not a lot of information on any of this. I haven't seen any follow-up reports. If anybody knows of them, feel free to comment with them, and I will obviously go over them. But here's another major mind shock, because the tip to Fisher Lake, I mean, we've gone over it in the previous episodes, but apparently Lake Fisher was just searched again April 4th, 2024, using sonar and infrared cameras. So in 2006, so pretty close to the time of her disappearance, I believe this is possibly the 3rd or 4th search, so people are taking it seriously. So a witness saw someone dumping a rolled up carpet into Lake Fisher 2006. So I don't know when the first search was, but they did a follow-up search November 2019, And now they did another one in 2024 using sonar and infrared. Here's an article from mysuncoast.com, April 5th, 2024. Teams search Lake Fisher in connection with the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse. A sonar company is teaming up with the family of a missing Florida woman who disappeared in 2006. Sunshine State Sonar announced Friday that they searched Lake Fisher in Orange County after following up on a tip from 2019. Kesse was last known to be at her apartment January 23rd in 2016. After talking with her dad on the phone, her car was found a mile away from her condo in Orlando the next day. Shortly after she vanished, security footage caught a person parking Kesse's car walking away, but the poor quality of the video made the man pictured unidentifiable to police. Jennifer's parents, Drew and Joyce, have never given up in their desperate search for her. In 2018, they sued the Orlando Police Department and obtained all of her case files. In November 2022, they passed their info onto the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, who are actively investigating her disappearance. However, Drew Kesse says he has no knowledge of where they are at the investigation. The company says the team searched the entire lake with the exception of vegetated areas. They say they caught several anomalies and sent divers to check. Eventually, they will send divers to search the vegetation in the lake at a later date. You know, another question is, apparently, how good was the search in 2019 then? Because they're doing this follow-up search, and why wasn't this all done already? I mean, there looks like there's a typo or something in the article. Something, I guess a tip led law enforcement divers to this body of water and specifically searching for a rolled up carpet. I mean, that's a good point too, because the carpet should still be there, regardless of whether there was anything else in it. Unless the tipster made it up and is possibly connected with the true perpetrator. Again, I do not claim anything is true or untrue. The motto here on MINDSHOCK, of course, is the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure, and we examine each and every theory objectively, logically, and neutrally. At the time of Jennifer's disappearance, a resident witnessed a pickup truck back up to the lake and dump a 6x8 foot piece of rolled up carpet into the lake before fleeing. Interesting language. Nothing of significance was found during that search in 2019. Here's the thing, though, the exact spot where the truck pulled up, I mean, shouldn't the carpet be there? Yesterday, we searched the entire lake with the exception of the vegetated areas, recording depths of up to 19.8 feet. We developed an infrared HD camera on several anomalies. We dove in several pockets of the vegetation without any luck. We would like to dive and comb through all the vegetation on the south side of the lake at a later date. So searches as recent as 2024, what is going on with this case? So it seems like the Fisher Lake tip, it's not going away. They took it very seriously. And then we have these other locations not far from the apartments. And then, of course, the Curry Ford Road incidents. And we'll be going over even more incidents in a moment. Okay, so here is the main new suspect that people have been talking about. This is, of course, Joel Pappas. Now, what's curious is that he actually lived in Huntington on the Green, where her car was dumped. And he was accused of being the East Side rapist. 4 alleged attacks: May 2009, February 2010, June 2010, October 2010. And these are the known attacks, obviously. There could be many others. So, regarding Pappas, one super sleuth also posted this regarding the Unconcluded podcast, February 9th, 2020. Interesting new lead in the Kesse case. Joel Pappas, convicted of rape in 2009 and considered a suspect in 3 other cases, was living at Piccadilly Circus Court in 2006 at the time of Jennifer's abduction, which is Huntington on the Green. Known as the East Side Rapist, his MO included attacking women in the middle of the night who were home alone and living in multifamily units. He required his victims to clean up and shower afterwards. However, unlike Jennifer, the other 4 women weren't killed or went missing, and all 4 attacks occurred 3 to 4 years after Jennifer went missing. Pappas is currently incarcerated, born 1980, 5'9", 210 pounds, as of June 2013. Here's the thing, though, we don't know how many unreported cases there were, though, obviously, because if they weren't reported, if he intimidated victims or for whatever reason, there was another reason they did not report him. But it's awfully coincidental that he lived in the apartment complex where Jennifer Kesse's car just happened to end up. I mean, we're talking Orlando here. The population of Orlando is, as of 2022, so in 2006, it was over 200,000. So pushing close to 250,000 people. And a guy with a track record, a guy with a criminal record, just happened to be living in the apartment complex where her car ended up. A guy that just happens to have an MO of attacking victims in the middle of the night while home alone and making them shower afterwards? I mean, I guess in his mind, he thinks that's getting rid of evidence. I mean, I don't know exactly if that would get rid of 100% of evidence, but, I mean, obviously he was convicted. Now, the points against this theory, of course, is why would he dump her car where in the same complex where he lived? Now, he didn't dump it directly next to his apartment. It was on the other side of the complex next to the pool. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That is kind of weird. Now, there's also an issue with the dog tracks because he may have went back to Jennifer's apartment after parking the car there or not. I mean, there's a lot of conflicting information about the dog scent. Supposedly there were 2 different dog tracks, one of the passenger, one of the driver. So it is unclear, obviously, and you know, the tracks wouldn't necessarily be perfect anyway. The other thing is, if more than one person was involved here, was she not in the Malibu? In which case, it could have been the driver and an accomplice, and one of them returned to her apartment. If it was one of the construction workers who worked there, obviously they could return, and maybe the accomplice did not return. I mean, a lot of people automatically assume there could have only been one perpetrator. And that's, of course, an issue as well, because especially with unsolved cases and when they go unsolved for such a long period of time, it's time to, again, go back to square one and try to verify whatever can be verified, and also cast the net wider in terms of theories and suspects. And also, if we, with the church situation, going back to the Oak Ridge church tip, apparently the witness in that account said that there were 2 vehicles involved. And again, it's really not that much of a stretch that criminal scumbags know other criminal scumbags. Like, I don't know why a lot of coincidence theorists have trouble with that. They just love to hallucinate that criminals can only act alone. It's just weird. And also, if the body was moved possibly more than one time, which again, in many true crime cases, that does occur. I mean, we just have so many conflicting theories and conflicting locations here. Also, going back to Fisher Lake, apparently the former co-worker that wanted to date Jennifer was arrested the week before she went to St. Croix. And some people apparently, he also had some kind of a trip to another office the same Tuesday that she didn't show up for work. And he was the one that made comments about her already being dead and being eaten up by gators during that trip. Now, some people have actually traced this coworker's address to not that far from Fisher Lake. Now, see, again, unless you think all of this is coincidental, is it possible all of these factors are related to her disappearance? Or maybe none of them or some of them, but if they're all related, what does that mean? How do we fill in all these variables into the equation? Now, most people discussing this on Reddit actually believe the true perpetrator would have driven her much further away and dumped the body in the woods instead of a lake. And then animals might have done the rest. I don't know. I mean, again, just true crime statistics. I mean, bodies are often found pretty close to the last known location of the victim. Now, there are a few different stats on this. Some worldwide stats show that 60% of murder victims are buried within 10 kilometers of their last known sighting. Of the 60, 50% of the 60% are within 5 kilometers. So 10 kilometers is 6.2 miles. So 5 kilometers would be 3.1 miles. So pretty close. So they would be within a very close radius. This is 60% worldwide stats. Can't find US specific stats, but if we had to guess, probably somewhere in line with worldwide stats. So that would be more often than not, but not necessarily the overwhelming majority, but more often than not. And those are of the ones found. So I guess we can't really read too much into those stats because, you know, there could be, you know, tons of victims that are never found. Well, there are a lot of victims who are never found, plus all the victims of crimes that nobody even knows about that aren't found. So, yeah, it's tough. A very astute Redditor hopefully one day posted this. It's a very, regarding Lake Fisher. It's a very small lake. Only 2 out of 6 dogs hid on the lake. That most people leave that part out. The carpet was dumped months later. No one in their right mind is going to dump a body on the edge of a pond. You would need to wade out into the lake to get deep enough for the water to cover the body. There's also a large Christian camp on that side of the lake. The carpet was probably pulled out of the lake by the camp when they cleaned it. Camp Ithael. You know what would be curious to know is if Camp Ithael has any connection to Oak Ridge Church that wouldn't allow a search on their property. That would be curious if there was a connection there. But that's an interesting point. If the body somehow, if the carpet wasn't secured well, and the body got out of the carpet and possibly sunk under the mud or caught somewhere else, it's possible the carpet could have been cleaned by the camp or recovered without the body, theoretically. But I guess, I mean, if different people ran the camp at different times, I mean, it can't be that hard to verify if they ever found one, unless, I mean, if their janitorial staff were kind of freelancers and they can't track them down. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be tough. They might not tell anybody, of every single item they ever cleaned or recovered and dumped or threw out, whatever. Yeah, this is really tough. Couple more things to go over here. I mean, there's a lot of information here. You would think. I mean, yeah, it's kind of, this should have definitely been solved already, obviously. Let's just go over the second dog scent one more time. I'm going to make this image a little bigger just so everybody can see it. So let's go over this post here by one Agatha 91 on the Justice for Jennifer Kesse subreddit. After parking Jennifer Kesse's car at the Huntington on the Green, the POI returning to her condo was absolutely incredibly moronically stupid. What could have been so important they risked everything in return? To return, this just doesn't make any sense unless they left major evidence behind everybody missed. Some responses here. The dog's handler said the dog was following Jennifer's scent. I'm not convinced the POI went back to the Mosaic. The dog that went to the Mosaic was following the passenger side scent. The dog from the driver's side went to Park Central Apartments. So that is the green circle on the screen right now. There's also a little piece of wood. There's some woods right there in between Huntington on the Green and Park Central. The second dog track apparently tracked through woods. So you would think those woods were searched. I couldn't find anything definitive on that. So the dog that went to Park Central lost the scent there. So 2 different dogs. ETF4 stated, "It opened my mind to the possibility that the POI didn't return to the Mosaic. The dog that went back to the Mosaic was thought to have been following Jennifer. The dog's handler said the dog could follow her scent to her home even if she didn't walk the route. They thought the dog that went to Park Central was tracking the POI or someone else that walked by the car." That's interesting as well. Early on, there was a newspaper report that stated a scent found in the woods was one of their most important clues. The dog that went back to the Mosaic didn't go through any woods. I bet the dog that went to Park Central tracked through the woods. There were more woods there in 2006. We really can't say for certain where the POI went after he exited the camera's view. Could really be anywhere. Well, here's the other thing, too. So my theory is that perhaps if there were 2 perpetrators, at least one of them worked at the Mosaic, possibly Chino or a different construction worker. And that's the explanation for the 2 cents. And her body could have been dumped by either another accomplice, either in a van or a truck, which Chino was also known to drive. And these guys dumping the car, there were just 2 different guys. And earlier it was reported that the car might have gone through a car wash as well. So, yeah. The last thing we're going to go over is another clue here that I haven't seen anybody discussing that might lead to even more possibilities. Now, again, I've gone over a lot of this stuff before, but I want to go over it again just with this new information on this new search that happened in April 2024. So clearly there's something still going on here. So what I want to go over now, I don't know if this is still up. Let me double check. This was on jenniferkesse.com, Jennifer Kesse Abduction Discussion Forum. Let me just see if it's still online. Okay, apparently it's not, but luckily I have an archive. So here is poster Find Jennifer. Posted January 7th, 2010. Comments about the Mosaic and Millennia area. I found a forum where someone asked about the condos at Mosaic. I found the various comments to be quite interesting and I'm posting some below. I used to live there when it was an apartment complex called The Tradition. My roommate's car was stolen. And after that, we started talking to our neighbors and virtually everyone in there either had their car stolen, vandalized, or knew someone who had. I mean, this is truly mind-shocking. So before it became the Millennia, and who knows, I mean, who really knows how many people were still living there from when it was the tradition, and then I'm assuming it was new owners when it became the millennia. But almost everybody either had their car stolen or broken into. So there's a history of car theft. So enter another theory here. Is it possible? Like, okay, this is really tough. If Kesse made a trip to her car, either that morning or the night before, whatever, and she opened the door, maybe put some stuff in there, then went back inside, and that's when she was abducted. If somebody was watching this, did they notice that she didn't lock her car? Or something of that nature? Is it possible the people that moved her car were not connected with the people who took her? Again, we're just casting the net wider here. We are examining each and every possible theory, many mutually exclusive theories. This is MINDSHOCK, where the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. So I'm not going to hallucinate that anything is true or untrue. This is an as of yet unsolved case. So is it possible that whoever moved the vehicle was not connected to the abductor or abductors? Or maybe they were connected in the way that they realized something was happening to her and decided to take advantage of the situation. And they weren't physically directly involved with kidnapping her, but they realized that something was going on and they took that opportunity to take the car. But this theory also doesn't make a lot of sense, and we'll examine why here in a moment. I'll continue this post here. Right down the road, as you cross John Young Parkway, Conroy Road turns into Americana, and it gets extremely ghetto. Obviously, the Americana Orange Blossom intersection is where that body was found. It's a beautiful complex and very new, but sad to say I can't recommend it. Is it a luxury gated community? No. FYI, the Mosaic is also the complex that Jennifer Kesse disappeared from. The whole area is not one that gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. I cut down Americana during the day to get from Florida Mall to Millennia, but wouldn't want to be on that road at night. Just by looking at it, you can see that it's one of those neighborhoods that isn't going to be safe at night. You should look at some zip codes to permanently remove from your search, where the mall at Millennia is located being one of them. I would say everything about that mall is bad. Most of the areas are rental, some nicer than others, but the whole 32839 zip code, I would say about 80% is undesirable neighborhoods, if not more. As far as the retail around the mall, it's pretty good, but as far as residential, it's all pretty bad. There are a few nice places that are new and very beautiful, but unfortunately, since there's so much bad crap around, they are dragged down. Apartment condo places like Mosaic, Park Avenue, and even some of the apartments on Millennia Boulevard going toward Oak Ridge are nice and new, but the places like Winter Run on Conroy and the apartments down Americana and Oak Ridge really bring it down. Thanks for the information about Mosaic and Millennia. I was thinking about buying a condo there, but will think twice. It looked like a nice condo complex. I lived off Millennia in Northbridge Apartments for 4 years, and although we never had any issues personally, I wouldn't suggest that area to anyone. That whole area is sketchy. And again, Northbridge is where the other sighting was, which we went over, of the woman panicked, said she was being followed, etc. We lived there mostly because we didn't do enough homework. Was looking for somewhere halfway between Celebration, where I worked, and UCF, where we went to college. And although that anywhere next to a mall as upscale as Millennia couldn't be that bad, however, it's definitely an iffy area. Some of these are comments also from City Data, made May 2009. Another poster posted this. I totally agree with the comments above. Millennium Mall itself is a beautiful mall with high-end stores, but unfortunately the area is no good. I have a friend who lives close to HOG, and just driving there gives me the creeps. Mosaic may be nice-looking condos, but if you look right in front of them, behind them, and down the road, you will definitely not want to live there. Americana Boulevard leads to OBT, which a street full of strip clubs, prostitutes, and drugs. You will see arrests going on there on any given day. Sorry for my negativity, but I also feel strongly about this area. Those are powerful comments from the local residents. All the more reason it was weird that Jen left the DVD player in the car. And this is what we're going to talk about. I know we all flip-flop one way or another on this, but score 1 point for Jen being abducted the night before, as she went out to her car again to remove the DVD player. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Is the DVD player the critical detail that's going to solve this case, or at least make the timeline more definitive? Another poster said this. I have an idea why Jennifer left the DVD player in the back seat. She was in a hurry to get home in her condo that night and only made one trip from her car to her condo. Her hands were full, and she probably emptied her mail slot as well, so she just left it there on the back seat. She figured the DVD player would be safe in the back seat because it was dark. Also, she had only been there for parts of 2 months and may not have known about the bad rep of opportunity-stealing break-ins. Another possibility was the DVD player was originally in the trunk. Why would she have needed it at St. Croix? And the POI strapped into the back seat like a precious passenger to mess with law enforcement and our minds. Huh. That's a curiosity. That is a curiosity indeed. Thanks for the super chat, Dub. Kind regards, best wishes all. Off topic, I hope in the future you might consider possibly cover the lefty liberal who set himself on fire in New York. OMG, she's still missing. I have never heard of her before. Sad. Yeah, well, I mean, they just did a search. April 2024. So the case is obviously still moving somehow. And like I said before, I think there's enough info to solve this one. So I'm going to post an image here. This was posted on a Facebook account. I'm assuming this is the actual photo of the back seat of the vehicle. Yes, I'm going to put it on the screen right now. It's a curious photo. So I believe this is not a reenacted photo. I think this is the actual photo of her back seat. Of the DVD player, and there's also an exercise ball there. It is kind of weird. If you're in a high crime area, would you leave a DVD player like that in the back seat? Keep in mind, this is 2006. I mean, DVD players were quite on the rise by now. Not as rare as in the late 90s when they first came out. It's developed 95, first released November 1st, 96 in Japan. It was available in the US only in 1997. With only 32 titles. The nationwide rollout happened August 22nd, 1997. But they didn't really become that popular until 2001. By 2007, 80% of Americans owned a DVD player. So in 2006, beginning of 2006, it was a bit less than that. So yes, they were still kind of a prized commodity for theft. Just a quick stroll down memory lane for the DVD format. Okay, so you could also see the red flip-flops in the back seat there, as well as that exercise ball. Another poster said, I believe the DVD player was strapped in the back seat to protect it from damage on her car trip back from Rob's place, her boyfriend. No one wants something that heavy flying around in the event you have to brake hard, no other reason. She may have remembered it still being in the car and decided to go out to retrieve it that night. Another poster said, I never really thought the DVD player could be connected to the case, but now that you bring it up, it does make sense that she suddenly remembered it was in the backseat of the car and didn't want anyone to break in and get it. The other thing that would make sense, if for some reason she couldn't sleep that night after the conversation with Rob and decided she wanted to watch a movie and went to get the DVD player. Being safety conscious, what would Jen bring with her? Her keys and cell phone. Since we learned that the phone was powered down at 10:40 p.m. that night, it has always mystified me what could have possibly happened in just 40 minutes when she was already in bed for the night. I couldn't settle with the thought that she went out somewhere, like to a bar. I suspected that someone she knew possibly showed up at her door, but what really does make sense to me right now is that she stepped out to get that DVD player and perhaps encountered someone in the parking lot. If I were Jen, I wouldn't have too many concerns about going out to the car since her parking lot is so close to the entrance. Yeah, that's a curiosity. Here's the other thing, too. Like, we really don't know what they actually talked about. I mean, obviously, anybody can report anything. But if she broke up with Rob, you know, they were fighting. I think that much was admitted to a certain extent. If she was that upset and she couldn't sleep, perhaps that would warrant going out to the car and getting the DVD player. Another post here, very interesting. Also, too, that why, if Jen was going out to get the DVD player, why wouldn't she have stayed on the phone with Rob or someone? Because she used safe calls around her condo, but she did not this night. If we are to think she went out after 10 to get the DVD player, this does not jive. Of course, it's possible, but I think someone she knew perhaps came to the door around 10 p.m. Maybe someone pretending to be delivering something for work, etc. And that's around the time something bad happened, after 10 and before 10:45 p.m. Another poster said, I also believe whatever happened to Jen began at the Mosaic. She wasn't abducted, kidnapped, or carjacked after she drove away from the Mosaic while she was on her way to work or trying to drop off the cell phone. If someone had taken her under those circumstances, they would have taken off to parts unknown after the fact. There would be no reason for them to return her car anywhere, and certainly no reason to walk back to the Mosaic, if that's what happened. I do not believe she was stun-gunned getting into her car either. Why? It is a traumatic event, and J.C. Dugard said she lost control of her bladder when it happened to her. From what we have been told, Jen's car, other than being messy as usual, showed no signs of struggle. Well, again, if it was taken to a car wash and cleaned up, I mean, who knows? Remember, a person unconscious from a stun gun is a heavy person. Their body would scrape, smear, and leave all sorts of human evidence as the POI struggled to get her in and out of the vehicle. In my opinion, I think someone might have gotten in the car with Jen. All a stranger with a gun or knife has to say, make one sound and you're dead, and believe me, most folks are going to comply. Remember, Carla Larson was abducted from a parking lot during her lunch break. Most folks are not going to even notice as long as there is no huge altercation. It happens all the time and seems to be easier than we would like to think. With the noise of construction, you need to ask yourself, who's even going to hear anything? If the person was known to Jen, but one she didn't know to be capable of violence, she could have driven them wherever they decided to go, only then to discover her misplaced trust. This scenario would require the POI to park Jen's car after accomplishing his dastardly deed and walk back to the Mosaic to retrieve his car, pick up his bike, go to his apartment or condo at the Mosaic or the immediate area, or go to work at the Mosaic or in the immediate area. I mean, this is an astute post here. Very, very astute. The parking of Jen's car at the Huntington-on-the-Green apartments is the key and crucial clue because it ties the POI to the Mosaic. The dog, Bo, is the second clue in the investigation. He firmly places the POI back at the Mosaic after parking Jen's car at the HOG apartments. Well, here's the thing. We went over that as well. There are two different dog tracks. And with or without accomplice, also the dog might have made a mistake too, so we don't know. This is why I wouldn't put 100% blind faith in anything. Were all of the residents in the Mosaic questioned by law enforcement, most particularly those who lived in Jen's condo building? I mean, obviously not. We know that now. Okay, also Ethan, who said he had seen something important, even posted his phone number, whatever became of that, was that a valid clue or just a hoax? Someone else commented, here's why we now think the POI put the DVD in the back seat, referring to the previous comment. If the DVD player wasn't strapped in, would they strap it in the back seat so it wasn't flying around, especially if it was in the front seat? Or did they, of course, just do that to throw everybody off and it wasn't? I mean, yeah, this is pretty tough. someone also asked if Rob was the one who put it in her car for her. I mean, yeah, tracking the history of the location of the DVD player in the last 48 of the DVD player might also be crucial here. Charles McGilton in the chat, with all the resources our government has, this case should have been solved already. Yes, I talk about the Echelon Spy satellite system and all of that, where they basically have every inch of every major metro area covered, so they could have easily found out who went where how if they wanted to. Obviously, a lot of that tech was classified in 2006. I mean, some of it still is. Give me 1 second. The stream's getting a little bit droppy. Let me just tweak it. It's going to take about a minute. Hopefully less than a minute. Okay, we should be good to go. So, yeah, I mean, the DVD player, I can't help but think if we had definitive evidence and a definitive timeline on the DVD player, I mean, this really might be the critical factor here. This might be the critical factor. Also, apparently, I don't know if it's verified, because the whole timeline is a major issue. Because supposedly the POI parked the car at the HOG apartments at noon, but then the digital times, but then, the camera said 1 p.m. And then, of course, there's the issue with how long someone spent in the shower in her apartment. Possibly either the POI or, again, coincidentally, this guy Pappas, who, this convicted rapist with these other cases, who just so happened to live at the Huntington on the Green, either exactly at that time or if he had moved a few weeks prior. Some people were saying he moved, but obviously he'd still be familiar with the last place he lived at. And we don't know, did he continue renting for an extra month so he had 2 apartments, or who knows, did he know who rented the apartment after he left there? Either way, his MO is having his victim shower afterwards. So, yeah, the timeline here is a huge issue. Also, just the timeline of the case. So from 2006 to this particular post, April 8th, 2012, there are very few things that we outsiders have as solid fact. For years, the public story was that law enforcement and the family believed Jen slept in her condo, got ready for work, and something happened the next morning. Now, we just recently learned Jen's phone was powered down at 10:40 the night before, indicating something happened the night before. This confused me greatly, as if something happened the night before and not the next morning. The target audience of Jen's disappearance was completely different. Instead of trying to get people to go through the details of their activity that morning, we needed details of events taking place the night before. There must have been some reason for keeping this info quiet and going along with the morning version of the story. Yet, determining what is really fact and what is being used as a public story or decoy or just plain misinfo is getting more difficult as the years pass. Yeah, so if all the POIs were initially interviewed to give their alibis of what happened that morning and not the night before, and if her apartment was specifically staged to make it look like she was there that morning, that would throw everybody off the trail, leading to a situation like this, where potentially POIs that were ruled out because they had a solid alibi that particular morning, but weren't even questioned about their alibi the night before. So someone could have been watching her when she arrived that night and been waiting for their opportunity, if it was someone not known to her. Now, again, let's not fall for false dichotomies. It's possible this coworker or another ex-boyfriend who was drinking around the corner that night, it's possible they might have also wanted to harm her, but if 2 or 3 different parties want to harm her, one of them is going to get to her first that night. So even if they're all viable suspects, and even if they all intended to do her harm that night, that doesn't mean they all did. Other posters also postulated that she might have been doing laundry down the hall from her apartment. So even if she didn't go out to get the DVD player, she might have went out, maybe she had a load going in the laundry. I don't know if her family has commented on if they knew her exact laundry schedule. Some people just do it whenever they have time to do it, and they're not on a set schedule, particularly if she just came back from a vacation. Another poster posed this question. Something to think about. Do you think it's possible the POI walked from HOG early that morning to Jen's condo, grabbed Jen and her car, and then parked it back at HOG from where he came, and just walked off, not going back to the Mosaic? This meaning Bo could have smelled both scents from the early AM instead of that afternoon. Really think about this. What is said on this is not fact at all. We just don't know for sure, all speculation. Another poster posted this regarding Logan's friend Travis and the cell phone left at Jen's condo. There's just a series of coincidences here, things that are out of the ordinary. She's letting her brother stay at her condo with her friends. Now, Travis leaves his business cell phone. Is he a drug dealer? I mean, what kind of business is this? I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. But if it's something that he doesn't, something, I don't know, criminal related. Now, if this was his, so this post here is this was business cell phone. The battery had died over the weekend. He may have asked her specifically about his messages. And since the battery in his phone was already dead, couldn't Jen have removed the battery from her own phone, put it into Travis's phone, checked his messages with the intention of sharing that info the following day, but never got the chance to switch them back? I mean, they would have had to have the same model, but I don't know. I thought she was planning to give the phone back. But who knows? I mean, if that theory is true, or she checked his phone without his knowledge and there was something incriminating on the phone? Huh. Other posters are saying that there was a lady that lived underneath Jennifer's apartment that is refusing to talk. That's curious. Was she intimidated by the construction crew, the workers at the mosaic? Because her testimony could be curious. What did she hear the night before? What did she hear that morning? I haven't seen anybody corroborating this, but supposedly she refuses to talk. That's curious. So other posters are also pointing out that the last phone ping, 10:40 p.m., was not at her condo. Law enforcement is withholding the info. So, okay, well, that doesn't mean she was somewhere else. That means her phone was somewhere else, if that's true. Huh. So she may have went somewhere either willingly or not, and that's where the last ping was. If the ping wasn't at her apartment, I mean, that's a problem. Another poster posted this. So we are thinking POI left his bike at Jen's apartment complex after 9 at night, somehow lured Jen to the stairwell and then abducted her, took Jen in her car to who knows where, then returned it just down the road at high noon, only to jump on his bike at the place of the abduction and ride off. Well, she hasn't been found, so I guess that theory can't be ruled out. Look, it was absolutely crazy that POI took her car. The only reason for that is no other transportation. If it is true that she was abducted the night before, then why in the hell keep that car overnight? To me, if she was taken at night, then somebody lured her out, and I agree it was somebody she knew. But I have a hard time believing that she was tired and was heading to bed. And if you were a stalker on a bike, wouldn't it make more sense to park it at the HOG? And Bo, unless, what if it was some kind of stalker and they didn't know that they would take her that day, and something happened and they made a split-second decision, or maybe she just, I don't know, if she was going out to get the DVD player or doing laundry or whatever, she saw him stalking her, and she got startled, and he made his move then and there, but it wasn't pre-planned. If it was pre-planned, he would have parked it at the HOG or wherever he was. Well, even then, because the car, if it wasn't planned, he might not have known to move the car. Yeah, it's tough. Parsing the information about the car is tough. And Bo, so the dog follows the scent back to the stairwell at the Mosaic, and the scent was just lost there. Would this imply that the bike was parked there and the POI jumped on it and rode off? Look, the department screwed this up, and who knows, Bo's senses were probably tainted as well. To me, the workers occupying the complex took her. Like I said, they had all kinds of access. Remember, the keys were pretty much just laying around. They also didn't have transportation, which could have been a good excuse to take Jen's car. And they were all over the complex. Did Bo lose the scent? Or did he not know which way to go because the scent was everywhere? That's an interesting question. There were a lot of reports of the workers staring and whistling at Jen, making her feel uncomfortable. Would this be somewhat of a stalker? Sex trafficking has been mentioned. These workers from another country. I'm not here to discredit anyone else's theories. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there are a couple interesting points there as well. Also, a lot of posters are discussing who lived on the first floor underneath Jen. Because if the scent was legitimate and traced there, that individual could have just went back in their apartment. And the Mosaic might have had front and back staircases. Let's look at the POI again regarding whether or not a bicycle's involved here, because I don't know if we can really tell, but it looks here almost like there was definitely an effort here. I mean, it's really hard to tell. But it definitely looks like there's no loose, those pants are not loose. If you look here, are they tucked in or are they just very tight? A bicycle rider would obviously not want the bottom of a pant leg fluttering around getting caught in the chain. And that does look quite flush to the sock. That is curious. That's definitely curious. I just thought of another theory, which is pretty crazy. If she was taken, if she was taken the night before by someone else in their own car, then someone jacks her car, because again, that area was known for carjackings. As they're driving her car away, is it possible that they could have somehow found out that she was missing? I mean, this was before she was reported missing, so I don't know how they would have found out. But if they're connected to somebody and then they just dumped the car, maybe they were planning to take the car somewhere else, and they either changed their mind, got a phone call from someone else, and then just dropped it at the next location possible and then walked away because they didn't want to deal with it. Or if they were involved, they simply changed their minds and they thought it was too risky to dump it where the original plan was to dump it, and the HOG doesn't mean as much as we think. I don't know. In terms of motives, means, and opportunity, clearly the workers at the Mosaic had the most, just based on the limited information we have. They know the complex inside and out. They have copies of all the keys. They know her, they know her apartment number, they know her schedule. So we can't ignore that. Now that still doesn't mean they did it, but it is hard to ignore that. Yeah. Other posters also said this: construction workers or people working in construction in some capacity are working with dust, or painters, anything like that. They're working with dust and joint compound. And they always pull the pant legs tight to prevent dust and debris going up the pants and just around into the socks and shoes. So even if they have their pant leg tight like that, it could be intentional, and it may or may not have to do with a bicycle. Also, you would think, I mean, a few more points that, again, I don't know how verified these are. Jen's condo had an alarm and it was not armed. So if that's true and the alarm was not set, that's just another point pointing to her being taken that night before she had a chance to set it. If we can verify that she always set it. So her wallet is missing, but not her purse. Her purse is in the duffel bag, unless she had more than one purse, of course. I think we talked about that as well. They pinged Travis's phone, her brother's friend's phone. The ping showed it lost power over the weekend. The flip-flops in her car, one pair was the pair she wore home from work that day. The other pair was a pair she wore in St. Croix. In her car, in the cup holder, were aspirin, her mail key, a business card. They are withholding what the business card was for or what was on the card. Her sunglasses and her car charger wrapped around the gear shift. I mean, why would she take the wallet and not the whole purse to go retrieve the DVD player? You don't need a wallet to go get the DVD player from the vehicle. Unless she didn't take it, someone else came back and took it. Some more points on the flip-flops. The pair she wore home from work that evening were in her car. To me, that may be significant. Women will typically wear an easier shoe to walk into or from the house and car and change into the heels for work or going out. If the flip-flops she wore home from work were in her car, she either didn't leave her car when coming home from work, which we know is not true, or she went out that night wearing the same flip-flops. Recall that her favorite snakeskin pumps are also missing. Wow, that is significant. So, in other articles, they're also stating that Jen had an 8 a.m. meeting the following morning. That's quite early. Okay, here's another mind shock. This could be very significant. So, there was a cop doc interview. Logan, her brother, went around knocking on doors, banging on doors. The only condo near Jen's that was unlocked was the condo directly across from her door. I don't recall hearing if this was an empty condo, but because there were only 6 occupied units in her building, I would imagine it was. Back to my theory, then maybe Jen was surprised by a knock on her door that evening, sometime between 9:57 and 10:40 p.m., and someone got her to open her door, or they had a key to it. Maybe she hadn't turned on her condo alarm yet. They dragged her into the empty condo. Back to POI returning from HOG to the Mosaic to the bottom of the stairs. Maybe while the POI was parking the car, there were others back at her condo staging it, cleaning it up. Those others met POI at the bottom of the stairs and took off in a vehicle. You know what's absolutely tragic would be if she was still alive in the condo across from her own while her parents were in her condo looking for her. Or maybe alive or not. She might have been in the condo across the hall. Now, if Logan checked that condo at whatever point, I mean, I'm guessing it was empty then, if he knew it was unlocked and he walked inside. Also, regardless of whether she was there or not at that time, I mean, again, the timeline here is all over the place, but was someone else kind of just hanging out in that condo, keeping tabs on her, possibly for weeks, days or weeks? Yeah, this is really tough. That might not be a coincidence either. And if there was more than one individual involved, I mean, that could account for a lot of these variables. And apparently they did not fingerprint the condo or the other condo, the empty condo. Obviously, a proper investigation would have probably solved this thing. They probably would have solved it within, the first or second day. I mean, that's when most crimes get solved, of the ones that do. Another poster truth seeker here saying, wow, that there may have been yet another serial rapist in the area, and there were break-ins and rapes prior to the Mosaic. So not after, like with this Pappas guy, but before, while it was the tradition where a lot of people were also getting their cars stolen, there was a serial rapist who was doing break-ins and rapes. More than 5 there were, and they happened late at night. And this individual was never caught. So this was prior to 2006. This was before this was the Mosaic, it was the tradition. And then apparently Jennifer Kesse goes missing. Then a couple years later, Pappas is doing this again. It's quite weird. Wow, Truth Seeker with another bombshell here. A few months prior to the changeover from tradition to Mosaic, the master keys to all the units were stolen. This occurred twice, so not once, but twice the master keys were all stolen. This occurred twice not long before the breaking and enterings with assault, where the management company did attempt to calm the tenants by saying they would have all the locks changed on the doors, and to which subsequently they proceeded with costly expenditure to ensure safety of all residents. However, when prodded for proof, the management company failed to produce the receipts. This caused many long-term tenants, especially lone females, to locate other living arrangements. So, did they say they changed all the locks, but they actually didn't? Following the changeover and only a few months prior to Jen's abduction, once again, the set of master keys to all the condo units were stolen. The management company that handled both the tradition and the earlier stages of the Mosaic is no longer handling the affairs of residents, as the company was fired, and another with a far better track record of managing property. So it was the same management property? Wow. Management company. This is crazy. So they had all the master keys to all the units stolen, not once, but twice. Once, apparently, months or however long prior, well, a few months before Jen's abduction, and also however many months before that it happened another time. It is a well-known fact that this management company that handled the tradition and Mosaic in the earliest stages had a horrible habit of hiring illegals. Most of the time, heads of the company could not honestly admit to who was working for them or even the number of employees. If someone was hired, for example, as a janitor and couldn't make it into work, he or she could send someone they knew in their place, and the company was none the wiser. This fact is where tracking any actual employees during Jen's stay would be next to impossible. Is this why this case is unsolved? Here's another interesting post. I saw your question to Drew Kesse on the guest book. I don't recall him ever saying that the condo itself smelled like cleaning products. I do recall him saying that in the 8 months that he and Joyce and Rob lived in Jen's condo after she disappeared, they painted the exterior hallway walls a couple of times. More times than you would think, anyhow. I was wondering why they would do that. To treat the walls for mold or something. That was the only thing I came up with. I also read something, I can't think of the name of it, that the black light they use to see bodily fluids, I wonder if it could still be used on those walls for any blood traces or saliva. That's curious. If she put up a little bit of a fight, would there be evidence of that on the walls? Or maybe, I mean, if it was obvious, they would have seen it. But why would they be painting? Okay, anybody that has lived in any apartment complex, inside of 8 months, would the hallway be painted more than 1 or 2 times? It doesn't say how many times. Well, it says a couple of times. So that, what is that, 2, 3, or 4 times? I mean, it's kind of crazy to imagine more than that. But why would they be painting the hallway every other month? That's kind of weird. I mean, I've lived in some apartment complexes. They don't paint. They never painted the hallway. And that place was new, so it would have already been recently painted anyway. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's really mind-shocking. So are the workers painting these hallways to cover up their own crimes without a direct order from above? What's going on with that? Apparently they also repainted. Okay, let me put up some images here, because just so everybody can get an idea of how new the apartment complex was. Just give me a second. So this is the hallway. It's brand spanking new, newly painted, just like all the hallways in this area here. And welcome Miranda in the chat. And so this information here is quite mind-shocking because in the 8 months the Kesses stayed there, so it had just recently, they had all been painted even before they got there. And the hallway, Jennifer Kesse's hallway, was painted multiple times while they were staying there. On top of that, a month after her disappearance, they repainted the entire stairwell, which had just been painted 3 months prior. Right before she moved in, it was painted. And then they repainted it 1 month after she went missing, and they repainted the hallway several times while the Kesses were staying there. I mean, that's quite, I mean, I've never really seen anything like this in any other case. I mean, if we're adding this to the coincidence stack regarding the construction workers, the workers that were, like, is it really necessary to repaint a hallway that was just painted? That doesn't make any sense. Here's a post on this forum on jenniferkesse.com by Find Jennifer. Bo was on Bo, the tracking dog, was on the entire other side of Jen's building from her parking space. Bo was in front of the building by the steps leading up to her condo where the lake and fountain are. Here, I'll bring up another image of the condo area. So apparently the Bo the dog did not come to where her parking space is and this hallway. It was on the other side of the complex. Jennifer's parking spot is exactly on the other side of where that is at the base of the back staircase. Bo was sniffing lastly on a bush in the front of her building as if a lawn care worker were doing their job but never went upstairs. Hence, Bo stopped at the bottom of the stairs below her second floor bedroom window. No one came through the window. About a month after Jennifer was taken, they repainted the entire stairwell, which had just been painted before she moved in. Regarding black lights and blood concealed by paint, it is not uncommon that a perpetrator of a crime tries to get rid of potentially incriminating evidence. This may include painting over areas that have been exposed to blood. To the naked human eye, it is next to impossible to see that a blood stain has been painted over. By using ultraviolet light, however, it is possible to detect blood stains that have been concealed by paint. Here's another curiosity regarding something happening the night before and the apartment being staged. Here's an image of her apartment. And the coffee table is supposed to be in front of the couch, but here it's shoved to the side. Now, why would that be? Huh. I mean, that does not look like normal placement for a coffee table. Furthermore, why are there random linens stacked in the corner like that? That can't be regular unless this was Jennifer cleaning up. And she was cleaning up the place after Logan and his friends stayed there, and that's why it looks like that. She moved the coffee table maybe to do some vacuuming and then stacked up those linens in the corner? If she was cleaning up the place after Logan and his friends, but I don't know if he's ever commented on that. So other than the bathroom, it was reported that the condo was made clean as if serviced by a maid. Did Logan and his friends hire a cleaning service? Huh. That's also a curiosity because most young men would not do that. They stay at a place and then they leave. Usually they leave it relatively dirty, but usually they don't make sure it's spotless. I mean, that looks oddly clean for some guys, for some young guys staying there. Unless, of course, Jennifer cleaned up after them, and that's why it looks like that. Apparently, this image is of Jennifer in her apartment, and that's the exact same coffee table. It's like a tile table or something, and that's supposedly the same couch and the same pillows. Obviously, the contrast is different in this photo, but it appears to be all the same. So the normal spot of the table is in front of the couch, but again, we don't know if this was her cleaning up or her brother and his friends cleaning up. So I'm going to go over one more thread here from the Justice for Jennifer Kesse subreddit with some curiosities that may be interesting here, and also point to why this has not yet been solved, because there seems to be a critical error in the entire timeline, which would explain why this is not yet solved. Is there actual evidence that Jennifer Kesse was kidnapped? Is it possible she willingly went with her killer? Is it possible she drove somewhere willingly and was murdered? I honestly don't think she was ever kidnapped. I think she was just murdered and her body was hidden. This is posted by ETF4. Some responses here from Vivian. I think she left her condo to meet up with someone shortly after her call with Rob, or was already away from the condo during that call. If this is the case, it certainly would account for Jennifer's car being moved away from the mosaic. Perhaps she did open her door, if indeed there was a knock on her door, which would indicate to me that she knew the person who knocked. Who knows, Jennifer may have made plans with someone at work to meet up with them for a late dinner. Things went awry, and Jennifer was murdered. Plans may have been in the works to get rid of Jennifer while she was in St. Croix. She had recently gotten promoted at work prior to her St. Croix trip. Was someone jealous of the promotion Jennifer had gotten? I definitely believe there was a knock at the door too. I also think Jennifer was expecting someone to come to her condo Monday night that she knew. JC perhaps. JC and that group of crooks that he was associated with at Westgate would not permit Jennifer to go to the meeting Tuesday a.m. They also were probably really interested in making sure of what the briefcase contained. Drew walking all of this stuff back makes him look like a fool, and I do not think he is a fool. I think Joyce rules the roost, so to speak, and tells him that he has to walk back such and such things he has revealed, just like the phone pings. Drew knows those pings are legit, and I don't doubt that Joyce does too. The pings tell something about Jennifer that the Kesses don't want made public. Joyce has said over and over that that call to Rob was on the landline. That just proves that she knows that Jennifer left her condo Monday night. She has stated that Jennifer was in her condo all night. Now, how exactly did she know that? She didn't. She lied again. Jennifer wouldn't be the first woman to lie to a man she was dating. I believe Jennifer was seeing someone on the side unless Rob was in town. I think, by the way, the Kesses have acted the man she was seeing was Hispanic or black. And you know how the Kesses have acted accusing the workers at the Mosaic of taking Jennifer. Just imagine being a person in the U.S. illegally and two parents accusing you of abducting their daughter. The Kesses didn't seem to think that their lies could have gotten some of those workers deported. I am sure she wanted to string Rob along until she thought the relationship was through and decided that she was going to do what she was going to do about it. Per Blink, Jennifer was seen in a bar, the Tiki Hut maybe, before she went on vacation. Blink would not reveal who this was if she knew. I believe she did know. The stories that Lauren could tell, I wonder how soon after Jennifer disappeared that Drew and Joyce had a meeting with friends and relatives to shut them up. Probably pretty soon after the disappearance, as they have revealed very little. I have a best friend since I was 13 years old. If she were to disappear and her family asked me to not give interviews, I would tell them I was going to do what I could to get her back. More than likely, Lauren would be able to reveal loads of information about Jennifer. Hopefully, OPD and FDLE have spoken with Lauren. The things she might reveal would be valuable. What if OPD had talked to Lauren before the "you don't know your daughter like you think you do" meeting? I will never believe that OPD was not absolutely certain about Jennifer before they told her parents that. Lauren was one of her best friends. She did make a few comments on the case here and there. It was reported that Lauren had also talked to Jennifer on the phone that night. So Lauren McCarthy is reported as her best friend, and she has been interviewed by various news agencies. Another post from this thread. ETF4 posted, I imagine the knock happened when she was on the phone with Lauren. Speaking of Lauren, it's interesting how closely her family is with the Dugans. Lauren is not just some girl Jennifer met in elementary school in Tampa. This relationship goes back to New Jersey, and her family is friendly with the Dugans too. So Dugan is apparently the chief financial officer at Central Florida Investments. The CFO, Tom Dugan. So ETF4 says, I would bet Jennifer had already left her condo when she spoke to Rob. The call was on her cell phone. She told Rob she was in bed, and we know that was a lie. The cell phone didn't work in her condo per her parents. Girlies lie to their boyfriends sometimes. ETF also posted, if there was a knock on the door and they knowingly walked it back, that is quite telling. That leads me to believe they think it has to do with her murder. I 100% believe there was a knock Monday night. I don't see her father being confused about it. It's a very important detail, and he would know. This is info they wouldn't have to get from the police. This is something they would get from someone they knew personally. I do believe that people have been shut down from talking. There were rumors early on about her co-workers not being allowed to talk. Logan has never been asked obvious questions, like, for example, did you maid clean her condo? Lauren's family vacations with the Dugans. Just from social media, it seems like her family is closer to the Dugans than the Kesses. Dugan is the one who called her parents when she was a couple hours late. Drew and him go back to Jersey. Why was JC allowed to harass the CFO's friend's daughter, but poor FA was fired for speaking out? Very strange. You'd think they'd welcome the info. Yeah, the work dynamics also don't make a lot of sense. I mean, this case is just so bizarre because everything from the work dynamics, and now we find out that her best friend, is buddy with the CFO of where she works. Wow. And what's also really crazy is, again, just all the issues with the mosaic that can't be ignored. I mean, it's just crazy. Vivian responded, I agree with you. Joyce is telling Drew what to walk back, and it makes Drew look like a fool. I think the knock on the door has something to do with her disappearance. It could be that whoever knocked may have talked Jennifer into leaving the condo in her car, and perhaps that is why he walked to the Mosaic from the HOG. Some say the POI was mixed up and parked the car at the HOG. I don't believe that. He walks as if nothing happened. Oh, wow. That's an interesting theory. He was supposed to park it at the Mosaic, and he mixed it up because wow, that's interesting. Well, if they hired somebody, if they hired an illegal, wow, this is crazy. If this was something to do with a work situation and they wanted to implicate an illegal working at the Mosaic, could they have paid him money to park the car? Either at the HOG or at the Mosaic, whatever. If he messed up or not, whatever. And they just paid him a lot of money. And he obviously, at the time, he would have no clue that the owner of the car was harmed. And then possibly they paid off one or two witnesses to make up the story about seeing the car veering the morning of. He walks as if nothing happened. The POI was calm, cool, and collected. I firmly believe that Jennifer's abduction and murder was not his first time. A normal person with a conscience would be walking along, looking back at the car, looking around to see if someone was watching him walk out of the HOG's parking lot. Again, unless it was just a guy that was hired to drop off a car who had no idea it was linked to a crime. The Kesses know that there was someone knocking at Jennifer's door Monday night, and she left to go to a bar. Jennifer knew a lot of people from college and from working at Westgate, plus family and friends. They have given few, if any, interviews about Jennifer. The Kesses met with them, I think, and asked them not to reveal anything about Jennifer or her case. Logan seems to be hot-tempered, and you would think he would have gone off and said things, but as far as I know, he hasn't. Why not? I have always wanted to know if the condo looked the same as it did when he left it. Did a maid come in and clean it up? Did Jennifer receive a lot of phone calls on her landline while she was vacationing? Were there people coming to the condo door wanting to see Jennifer? The Kesses shut everyone down. I don't recall anyone other than Rob giving an interview that the Kesses weren't present. The Kesses, I bet, gave the podcast and TV hosts a list of questions they could ask. What on earth would have made them act this way? No other crime show that I have watched had the victim's family lying like the Kesses have. I will never believe Dugan didn't know about JC's scheme at Westgate involving other employees. He probably just turned a blind eye to their corrupt activities. FA was done dirty by Westgate. That would indicate that JC was being protected by Dugan. Could Dugan have been in that scheme with the rest of the employees? I would not doubt it. This case is a mess, and the Kesses have contributed to that mess, but why would they? It is insane. ETF4 says, in my opinion, they're most likely protecting a living family member. I've thought about it for quite some time that JC is protected by the higher-ups at Westgate for some reason or another. Otherwise, you'd think it would have been him that got fired instead of FA. Actually, I'm going to go over one more last post here for some of the most mind-shocking theories that we haven't even gotten to. Yes, Margaret. There's quite a few employees that are weird there. So apparently there was some kind of corrupt scheme going on there as well. One more second. But yeah, I want to go over one more post. Oh, this one's by one Agatha91. Do you think, also on Justice for Jennifer Kesse subreddit, do you think Jennifer Kesse's girlfriends probably know one or more of her killers but don't realize it? Do you think Jennifer Kesse's girlfriends remember who Jennifer hung out with at bars or the gym? Girlfriends talk, her girlfriends know. Theory Any posted, I had several close girlfriends at that age, but they weren't all part of the same clique. There were two who knew everything unless I absolutely didn't want anyone to know. And yes, some choices I made at that age I didn't want to talk about, and no one knew unless they were with me at the time. A couple of drunken nights that were what happens in Vegas to this day. If I see those girlfriends, we smirk, but don't mention it. That being said, one summer during college, I had a relationship back at home that no one knew about, because my college friends were in other states or local ones were working. I worked summers too and spent my free time with the guy and his friends mostly. When I'd talk to my friends on the phone or eventually see the local ones, I'd just say, yeah, I'm dating a guy, but they didn't know him. Just proving that it's not always that the close friends know absolutely everything. That being said, I do think one of Jennifer's friends knows. Obviously, people are different, but other posters said that all of their close girlfriends knew every single one of the men in their lives. So Jennifer Kesse was actually part of a sorority. And another poster said here, the sorority sisters will absolutely cover for each other. The sorority conditioned them to keep secrets and not run their mouth. I was in it. If you have loose lips, you do not last. They won't even let you talk to your friends that you know outside the sorority about certain things. So, yeah, a lot of new info here in these mind-shocking revelations in this case. Can the case be solved? I think it can. I think there's enough information to solve it. Maybe it's just me, but I definitely think there's enough information to solve the case. Quite a few rabbit holes to go down. We already went down a lot, but there's still more to cover in this case, and obviously I will continue to cover it. But that's it for now. Hope everybody enjoyed another edition of MindShock True Crime. Found it interesting and informative in comprehensive and exhaustive fashion with logic and reason at the forefront, unlike any other podcast out there. You can donate to our PayPal, help support the channel, help keep up awareness in all of these unsolved cases. Check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. You could also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. This is Bruce McGuire. Catch you guys next time.